इसमें तो स्क्रीन में नहीं, वो तो स्क्रीन में नहीं आ रहा है ना सर, वो आ जाएगा। अच्छा ठीक है, ठीक है। On behalf of Indira Gandhi National Open University, I welcome you for this video lecture session. Today's topic is production planning and scheduling. In our earlier lectures, we have started the first part of production planning and scheduling. There we have discussed how to schedule the jobs for n machines for n number of jobs. At the same time, we have also discussed about the n number of jobs having different processing time for a particular machine, and today we will discuss the n number of jobs are to be completed for a case in 2 machines. But the process is like that. The job has to go for first machine or first work center. After that, it will move to the second job. Now, today's topic is production planning and scheduling. Production planning is very important in the sense that we have to make our planning in such a way that we can be able to fulfill the pre-assigned target or to fulfill the mission and vision for an organization. Now, sometimes the resources are limited. The resources we can think of man, machines and materials. So, we have to plan in such a way that all the jobs are to be completed within the available resources. At the same time, scheduling of jobs are very important, but for a large production process, the method for scheduling are different than a low volume job. Now, today we will discuss the scheduling for a low volume job, and let us start our discussion. Scheduling is for establishing the timing of the use of equipment, facilities and human activities in an organization. Scheduling is used to allocate resources over time to accomplish specific tasks. So, we have to see that all the jobs are to be completed within the available resources and the completion time has to be minimum. Scheduling in high volume systems, that means process and product design. Preventive maintenance also very important, because if we maintain this technique like preventive maintenance, then all the machines and equipments will be always available and there will be no disruptions of the production. Any problem for machines are to be sorted out at the time of preventive maintenance. Rapid repair and breakdown, this is also very important, that if there is any sudden breakdown, then the specialists are to be employed so that it can be repaired and make the equipment in order. Optimal product mix, this is also very important, especially in fertilizer or some food. Minimizations of quality problem. You know that for making any production process, then the final product has to be as per the expectations of the customer, and there the quality of the product plays a very important role. But while maintaining the quality, there may be several problems, and those problems have to be sorted out so that there will be no disruptions of the production, and if the final products are not as per the assigned or expected quality, then definitely there will be loss of customers' goodwill or customer satisfaction, and the products are to be discarded, and there are so many other losses have to be incurred by the organizations. Reliability and timing of supplies, that is also very important, and you see that now just-in-time technique and other techniques are there so that all the materials which are required for smooth conductions of the productions are available. Scheduling in low volume systems like loading, Gantt charts, assignment methods of linear programming, there are several methods are there, but today we will see the sequencing problem. When a number of jobs are waiting in queue before an operational facility, there is a need to decide the sequence of processing all the waiting jobs. Sequencing is basically an order in which the jobs waiting before an operational facilities are processed. Sequencing means determining the order in which jobs at the work centers will be processed. Workstation means an area where one person works, usually with special equipment on a specialized job. Priority rules, simple heuristics used to select the order in which jobs will be processed. Now, job time, the time needed for setup and processing of a job. A job flow time means it is the length of time a job is in the shop or workstation. Job lateness means this is the length of time the job completion date is expected to exceed the date or the job was due or promised to a customer. Suppose on 10th June we are supposed to supply that product to a customer. Now because of some reasons we supply it to the customers on 14th June. So the lateness will be 4 days for that particular job. Make span, the total time needed to complete a group of jobs from the beginning of the first job to the completion of the last job. Now we can also calculate the average number of jobs with this formula, that is total flow time divided by make span. Now we will discuss a very interesting sequencing problem that we call it jobs through 2 work centers by Johnson's rule. Now you see that from this table there are 6 number of jobs A, B, C, D, E and F, and there are 2 work centers, and processing time for each job for 2 work centers are given. Say for example job A, it will take 5 hours at work center 1, after that it will go to the work centers and take 5 hours more. And for job B, it takes 4 hours at work center 1 and at work center 2, after that it will take another 3 hours. And for job C, it will take 8 hours at work center 1 and at work center 2 it will again take 9 hours. Similarly for D, E and F, the time for processing at different work centers are given. But this information we must know well in advance, and we will see if we follow the Johnson's rule, then the total time for completion of all the jobs, first it will process at work center 1, then it will process at work center 2, ought to be completed at a minimum time. Now, there are some rules. First of all, we have to find out what is the minimum time for work center for all the jobs. Now you see at work center the minimum time is 2, that is for job D. So job D has to be started at the first. So number 1 job we have selected, that is D. So when the job D is already selected, then we can remove this job and we have to proceed further in the same way. So the next minimum processing time is 3, but that is at work center 2. So 3 is the minimum time at work center 2 for job B. So the job B will be placed at the end. So B and D are already scheduled. D is at the first and B is at the end. Now similarly we have to carry on this. If the minimum time lies at work center, that will be placed after that. Then in the from the left side of the sequence, and if the minimum time is at work center, so that will be placed at the next sequence from the end. Now you see from here you see that 2 is the minimum time. So that is at work center, so D has to be placed at the beginning, and 3 is the next minimum time, that is at B, so B has to be placed at the end. So we have already scheduled the starting job and the end job. Now you will see how we are going for the next sequence. Now after that, the next number is 5. But here you see that 4 is the next number, but B has already been scheduled, so B we cannot take. So A is the next number, but here is a tie. Tie means A takes the same time at work center 1 and at the work center 2. So in that case, A can be placed arbitrarily. It may be placed at the next position of the end or in the next position at the beginning. So like that we have to proceed. Now you see, when we did the first operations, so we have placed D at the first position and D at the first position and B at the end position. So the first to start in, that is D, and the last in the sequence will be B. Now you see from the, we have already find out the sequence for B and D, but what are the next jobs? The next jobs are A, C, E and F. But in this case the processing times are given, but the minimum processing time from this table is 5 and 5, and these two are identical. Now A you can place after D, that is on second position, or A you can place at the fifth position. If there is a tie, you can arbitrarily decide the position of job B. But since job A is having 5 hours for work center 1, 5 hours for work center 2, so there is a tie. So you can place the job A either in second position or at fifth position. So let us say that we are fixed the job A at fifth position. Now A has already been sequenced. Now next is E. So E is the minimum time, that is 6, but that is at work center, first work center 1. So E you have to place it at second. So like that we have to go and see that E, once you placed at second position. Then the remaining, in the same way we can place the remaining two jobs, that is C and F, and accordingly the minimum time for C is at work center 1. So, C will be placed after E, that is on third position, and F we will place the remaining position, that is fourth. So, in this case we have got the sequence of operations with the help of Johnson's rule, that is D, E, C, F, A and B. D will be started first, then E will come, then C will start, fourth position F will start, and fifth position A will start, and F will be, and B will be at the sixth position. Now you see, once you know this sequence of operations, now in this sequence all the jobs will be completing in the first machines. After completion of the first machines or first work center, it will go to the next work centers. Now you see, from the next diagram we will see how we can find out the time for completing all the jobs and what will be the ideal time for machine 2. Now you see that for the work center 1, it will start from the 0 starting time, because we know the sequence of operations for all the jobs, that is D, E, C, F, A and B. So, the job D, it takes 2 hours to complete its job at work center 1. So, after 2 hours, after completion the job at work center, it will move to the center 2. So, you see that at center 2 the job D is starting after 2 hours. So, at center 2 the 2 hours will be idle time for center 2, because for work center 2 we cannot start any job unless the first job is completed at work center 1. Now you see, once the job comes to the first job comes to the work center 2, then work center 1 will take up the next job, that is E. It will take 6 hours to complete. So, it is starting after 2 hours. So, after 8 hours job E will be completed. Now, the job D at the work center 2, it needs 7 hours. So, 7 plus 2, after 9 hours the job D will be completed for work center 1 and work center 2. So, the job D's total processing time is over, that is after 9 hours. But by that time, after 8 hours, job E has already completed its work at work center 1. So, it will, without any difficulty, it will come to the work center E for starting its process. Now, once the job E comes to the work center 2, again for the work center, job C will be ready to come for its operation at work center 1, but job C, the processing time is 8 hours at work center 1. So, after 16 hours it will be completing its operations at work center 1, but E will be completing at work center 2 after 17 hours. So, after 17 hours you will be completing the process 1 at work center 1 and the next process at work center 2. But C will be completing the processing work at work center 1 after 16 hours. From this table you see, then it will come to the next operations at work center 2 and after 17 hours, because only after 17 hours the work center will be free, because it will release the job E. So, but C takes 9 hours for its processing time at work center 2. So, 17 plus 9, that is 26. The C will be completing its operation 1 at work center 1 and operation 2 at work center 2. But if the processing time of F at the first work center is 12, so 16 plus 12, 28 hours F will be ready for its operations at work center 2. But work center 2 will be finishing its prior job, that is C, after 26 hours, but it will start for the next job, that is F, but F will be completing its first operations at work center after 28 hours. So 2 hours here the machine 2 at work center 2 it will be idle. So the F will start at after 28 hours at work center 2. Now F takes 15 hours to complete its job. So 28 plus 15, that is 43, it will be completing its work center 2, and so after F, that A will first complete its operation. So after 33 hours A will be completing, so A will come to the next job, but A have to wait till 43 hours, because if F goes out, only the A will come, after that B will come. Now you see that after 51 hours all the jobs will be completed through its operation at work center 1 and work center 2, and there will be idle time for machine at work center 2, 2 hours. So 2 plus 2 hours at the beginning and in between 2 hours. So total idle time at work center 2 will be 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 is 4 hours. So 4 hours is the idle time for work center 2, and for work center 2 it will be completing its all the jobs operations after 51 hours, and the at work center 1 all the jobs will be completing after 37 hours. So this is the total picture you will get. We call it the summary of results for Johnson's rule sequence. Now this method, Hungarian method, is for n jobs and n machines. Suppose there are in this problem there are 3 jobs, and these jobs are to be allocated either at machine A or B or C or D. So there are 4 machines are there and 3 jobs are to be allocated, and jobs are to be allocated in such a way that total cost for completion of all the jobs is minimum. Now see that this method, that 3 jobs and 4 machines, but we have already discussed the Hungarian method in our earlier lecture session. There we have seen that n jobs and n machines. So we have taken up the examples of 4 jobs and 4 machines. So to convert this situation into number of jobs equal to the number of machines, we will take another dummy job, that is 4th job, and we assign the cost 0 for the dummy job for any of the 4 machines. So a new revised table is like this. So now here we are getting there are 4 jobs, 1, 2, 3 and 4 jobs, but job 4 we have introduced as a dummy job so that the number of jobs and number of machines are equal. Now we have to assign the jobs in the 4 machines, and 4 machines are such that they can complete any of the jobs. So they can perform to finish the processing of any of the jobs given in these situations. Now the costs are given. Say for example, if the job 1 is to be completed at machine A, cost is 12. If the job 1 is to be completed at machine 2, so these costs are given. Now for this problem, first of all we have to analyze the row minimum. So what is the row minimum for each row? Now for the first row 12, 16, 14 and 10, 10 is the row minimum, and for job 2 7 is the row minimum, job 3 9 is the row minimum, and job 4 is row minimum is 0. Now in this case we have to deduct this minimum number from each of the cost element in each row. Now this is the first operations that we have just find out the row minimum. Now we have to deduct this row minimum for a particular row from each cost given in that particular row. So we have to perform that 12 minus 10, 16 minus 10, 14 minus 10, 10 minus 10. Like that for each row we have to perform, and we will get a next revised table. And you will find that in each row you will get at least 1 0, because if you deduct this row minimum, then for this row minimum minus the particular row minimum which is given in the table will also be the same, so that reductions will be 0. Now the next, after deducting we are getting the next operations, that is 2, 6, 4, 0, 2, 1, 6, 0, 6, 3, 0, 2 and 0, 0, 0. Now we have to see that what is the column minimum, but obviously for this case the column minimum for each column will be 0, and we have to deduct this minimum value for each column from each element of that particular column. Obviously you will get the same value because column minimum is 0. So anything minus 0 will be that particular number. Now after that what you have to do, you have to draw the line to cover the zeros. So you see that how many lines you have to draw so that you can cover all the zero. Cover means cross out. So if you draw a line at 4th row, then all the zeros will be covered, and if you draw a vertical line at the 3rd column, then again 1 0 will be covered, and if you draw a line on the last column, then again 2 zeros will be crossed out. Now you see what we are getting after covering all the zeros by lines. So in this case you see there are 3 lines are required to cover all the zeros. Cover means cross out. Now in this case we have not come to the optimal solution. Optimal solution will be such that the number of lines required to cover all the zeros has to be equal to the number of rows, but here number of rows are 4 and number of zeros number of lines required to cover all the zeros are 3. So this is not the optimal solution. Now in this case what you have to do, the next step you have to see what are the uncovered numbers available in this table. So you see 2, 6, 2, 1, 6, 3, these are the numbers. Now what is the minimum number? The minimum number is 1. Now we have to deduct this minimum number from each and every uncovered number. See, here are uncovered number are 2, 6, 2, 1, 6, 3. So all the minimum number is 1, that has to be deducted from each uncovered number. So 2 minus 1 will be 1, 6 minus 1 is 5, and 2 minus 1 is 1, and 1 minus 1 will be 0, 6 minus 1 will be 5, and 3 minus 1 will be 2. Now again what you have to do, that you have to see that what are the numbers are crossed by 2 lines. So you see that 4th row, that line is crossing with 2 vertical lines, 0 and 0. So we have to add 0 and 0 for both zeros with 1. So 0 plus 1 will be 1 and 0 plus 1 will be 1. So next table you will get this. Now here we are getting this next value, this table. Now after that you have to see that you have to proceed like this. You have to start with the first row. In the first row you are getting only 1 0. So that is at the crossing of the row 1 and 4th column, that 0 is there. So job 1 will be allotted to machine D. So once you allocate the job 1, so that row you have to remove from the next discussions for placing the other jobs. Now you see, when you go to the next line, so there are 2 zeros. So here we cannot assign job 2 at present. Now the job 3, you see that job 3 only 1 0 is there in that particular row. So job 3 is allotted to C. Now again job 4, there are 2 zeros. Now you see that you have to, so we have allotted job 1 at D, machine D, and job 3 at machine C. Now you consider the vertical line. So you see that vertical line, that job 1, job 2 we have not allotted. So vertical line, you see that job 2 will be allotted to machine B. Now you see that finally we will get this is the this is, in this case you see that for covering all the zeros, that there are 4 lines are required. So that means we have got the optimal solution. Now you see that for the optimal solution we have got this number, this table, and you see the first table there are only 1 0. So job 1 will be allotted to D, and job 2, as we have already discussed, that there are 2 zeros, we cannot allot. Job 3 we can allot at C because only 1 zeros are there, and we can also place the in the next operations. When you see the column, second column, that is job 2, we can allot to job machine B. So you see that finally we have got the allotment for all the jobs, that is job 1 is at D, job 2 is at B, machine B, and job 3 at machine C. So of course job 4 is the dummy variable we have considered as for cost is that is at A, that is cost is 0. So total cost will be 8 plus 9 plus 10, that is 27 rupees. So this is the sequence of the operations for the jobs in the machines available for completion of the jobs. Now you may be thinking that what is the great thing for allocating only the 3 jobs in 3 machines, but you see that if you take 4 machines and 4 jobs, so the net combinations will be factorial 4, that is 4 into 3 into 2, that is 12 combinations will be there. So 24 combinations will be there. 4 into 3 into 2, that is 24 combinations will be there. If there are 5 jobs and 5 machines, then 24 into 5, that is 120 combinations will be there. So if there are 6 jobs and 6 machines, that means 120 into 6, that is 720 combinations are there. But if we proceed with Johnson's rule, then you can immediately find out the job sequence immediately, but we can also write some computer program so that this job, if you feed the data for cost for the individual jobs at different machines, so within a second you can get the sequence of jobs through as a result through the computer. Now these are the methods we have already discussed, that is first come first serve basis, that's SPT means shortest processing time, and due date time and critical ratio. So processing time and due dates for 5 jobs waiting to be processed at work centers are given in the following table, and determine the sequence of jobs, the average flow time, average job lateness, and average number of jobs at the work centers for each of these rules. So these methods we have already discussed in our earlier lectures, but very quickly let us see how we can calculate. Now we see that the jobs are given, that A job is processing time given 12 and due date means 15 is given. If the job is completed within the 15 days, so there is no late, but for processing time for job B is given as 6 and due date is 24. So all these data are given. So if the sequence is taken as first come first serve basis, that means the sequence will be A, B, C, D, E. So A, B, C, D, E, A processing time will be 12 and flow time is 12. So after that the job B will start, it will take 6 hours for processing. After 12 hours, that means processing time for flow time for job B will be 18. That means job B, even though its processing time is 6 hours, it has to be in the shop floor for 18 hours because it will be able to start only after the completion of the job B. Same thing for C, its flow time is 32, for D 35 and for E 42. So total flow time will be 139 and due date, you see that, and make span time is the processing time of the for each job, that is 42. But you see for due date for job A there is no late, for job B the due date is 24, it is completed after 18 years, there is no late. For job C it is completed after 32 years, there is a late for 12 days, for D there is a late for 27 days, and for job E the due date was 6 hours and it is completed 42 days. So 36 is the days late, so 35 is the 70, if you add all days late, so 75 hours is the total days late. So we can calculate the average flow time, we can calculate the average days late, and we can also calculate by the number of jobs at the workstations. So with these formulas, the average flow time is 139 by 5, 27.8 days, average job lateness 75 by 5, 15 days, and the average number of jobs at the work centers is 139 by 42, that is 3.31 day. This is the average number of jobs. Now you see, this is the SPT rules, that is shortest processing time. So shortest processing time for 5 jobs, shortest processing is D. So next shortest processing is for B, that is 6 hours. Next shortest processing time is for E, that is 7 hours, and next small processing time is 12, and C is the maximum processing time, that's why we kept it last. So the sequence of jobs to be completed we have got, that is D, B, E, A, C. So flow times we can calculate because processing times is given. So flow time for D is 3, flow time for B is 9, because even though the processing time for B is 6 hours, it has to start after completion of D job. So 9 hours B will be there at the work centers. So for all individual jobs we can calculate the flow time, we can calculate the days late. For D the late is 0, for B late is 0, because 24 is the due date, it is completed after 9 days, there is no days late. For E there is a late for 10 days, for A there is a late for 13 days. So total late is 45, total flow time is 98, and the processing time, the mixed span time is 42. Now we can calculate the average flow time, that is 19.6, average job lateness we have got 9 days, and average number of jobs at the work centers we have got 98 by 42, we have got 2.33. Now this is the earlier due date. So earlier due date, that is 6, we have placed E, that's why first is first job, then next due date is 8, then D will come, next day is A, after that C and B. So this is the sequence on the basis of earlier due date, and we have to calculate on the basis of earlier due date. So we have got the flow time for individual jobs, the total flow time is 117 and the number of days is 44. So we can calculate the average flow time for this process, that is DD sequence, 23.4 days, average job lateness 8.8 days, and average number of jobs at the work centers is 2.78. Now this is the critical ratio. Critical ratio means we have to divide the processing time by due date. We have to divide due date by the processing time. So we have kept the E at the first because it is the lowest critical ratio, that is 6 by 7, that comes out to be 0.86. For the next case, the due date is given 15 and processing time is 12. So we have to divide due date by processing time. So 15 by 12 is 1.25, that's why the next sequence, and the next sequence the job will come she, because the due date is 20 divided by 14, that is 1.43. So next higher value of critical ratio. Like that we have got the sequence for on the basis of critical ratio. Critical ratio is defined as due date divided by processing time. Due date divided by processing time. So we have got the total flow time, total the days late, and the make span time. Of course it will be always 40, same for all the sequences. Now we have got the average flow time, that is 27.4 days. We have got the average job lateness 12.8 days. We have got the average number of jobs at the work center, that is 3.26. Now we can summarize in a table, and you will see that SPT rules is the best, because for shortest processing time the average flow time is less, that is 19.6, and you see that SPT rules the average lateness is the second lowest, that is earlier due date it is 8.8, but slightly more that you are getting for SPT, and for average number of jobs at the work center it is the lowest. So SPT rules, if you analyze, that is the best sequencing sequence for optimal solution. From this table you can check and you can verify it. Now we can take up a second job, that second problem, that is sequencing jobs through work centers, that is Johnson's rule. A group of 6 jobs are to be processed through a 2-step operations. The first operations involve cleaning and the second operations is painting. First you have to clean and then it will go to the next work center for painting. Determine the sequence that will minimize the total completion time for this group of jobs. Now for this case we have already discussed that we have to find out which is the lowest processing time. So in this case you see that 12 is the lowest processing for D. So D, since it is at the work center, you have to put D at the end. The next processing, so we have to remove the D, that row from the table, and we have to proceed in the same way. But the next minimum value for processing time is B, but B is at work center 1, so B has to be placed at the first. But previously we have got the value, minimum value is 12, that is work center 2. So D has to be placed at the end of the sequence. So like that we have to proceed, and you see that B and D, B has been placed at first position, D has been placed at 6th position. Now this case the minimum value, you are getting the minimum value then BA. So we have to proceed like that, and we will get the sequence that is BACEFD. But if you see the timings, processing times are tie or identical, same, then you can take any arbitrary decision for that. Now here you see that the summary of results, that first B will start at 0 point and it will be completing at work center 1 after 16 hours. After that it will go at the second work center. So the 16 hours will be idle time for the work center 2. Now the job B will be completing after say 16 hours from the work center 2, and so like that you can find out that total idle time will be 16 plus 6 plus 34, that is 56 hours, and all the jobs will be completing after 228 hours. And you see that first job, the B, it will be over after 46 hours after completion of the work center 1 and work center 2, and then job A will be completing after 73 hours, then job C will be after 130 hours, and here you see after that job A will be completing after 73 hours, but job C was supposed to come in the work center, but it is completing at work center 1 after 79 hours. So 6 hours will be waiting time or idle time for machine work center 2. So C will be starting its next operations at 79 hours and it will be completing after 130 hours, and like that again for F is completing its job after 182 hours, and next job will be D, but D will be completing after 16 hours at work center 1. So then it will come to the next work center and it will be completing after 220 hours for D for the next work centers. In between there will be an idle time, that is 34 hours. So we can calculate total idle time for work center 2, and all the jobs will be completing after 220 hours, and for machine work center 1 will be completing its jobs after 216 hours. So thank you very much. Today we have discussed the concept of scheduling by Hungarian method, scheduling by Johnson's method. Thank you very much.